There is a sneaky, emotionally manipulative energy tied to the new moon in Gemini, which comes exact on June 17th. But not to worry, I'm here to help you navigate the murky Neptunian waters of this energy because Neptune is in square with this new moon. This energy of the dark moon is going to be a lot more psychically charged than what we're used to. This is an energy of going deep. This is an energy of transcending our normal perception of reality. But this is also an energy of feeling foggy, uncertain, unclear, or detached mentally and emotionally from everything that's going on in our world. And so there's a lot to unpack here for the new moon in Gemini. But before we get into that, I just wanted to take a moment to talk to you guys about the Cosmic Academy of Astrology. This is my full-on astrology course that takes you all the way from struggling to integrate and put together all of the different pieces of astrological information you're picking up on the internet and in books, to giving meaningful, accurate astrology readings and making predictions confidently using things like transits, solar returns, annual perfections, and secondary progressions, and so much more. And the reason I want to chat with you about this at the onset of this video is because we only have a little bit of time left for our summer enrollment period where you're going to get 20% off your enrollment and a bunch of bonuses, which I'll talk about in just a second. But for those of you who want to go on to learn astrology for yourself or to help other people, this course is designed specifically for you. It is highly, highly unique in the way that it's been put together, and it's very successful in helping our students master the ancient technical art of astrology. There's absolutely nothing like it out there on the internet, even now when there have been a couple of different astrologers who've tried to either copy or mimic the course framework unsuccessfully, which is definitely going to be a thing, right? When we have so many students that are giving such beautiful testimonials and getting such great results. But the way that this course is put together is that there are pre-recorded lectures and also live interactive lessons and Q&A sessions. And it's also self-paced. And so you can go at your own pace, but regardless of where you're at, there's going to be specific demonstrations and Q&A sessions that you can join in on that are interactive as well. There's also a twice monthly all levels astrology Q&A session for everyone in the course and a supportive astrology community where you can ask your questions in real time, get answers very promptly from myself and from our teaching assistants, and connect and practice what you're learning with your fellow astrologers. There are 4 different levels to this course. All of them are included with your enrollment, and it's going to walk you through everything in a very structured way where you're going to learn how to give readings, how to understand signs, planets, houses, aspects, putting it all together, how to understand how to use astrology to make accurate, freaky accurate predictions using things like house rulerships combined with transits, solar returns, lunar returns, and all of the things. And each layer we sandwich in an integration component where you learn how to take each new piece of information that you've acquired and actually synergize it and actually utilize it in practical application in readings. And it's a very not just interactive, but very active. And so this is not a passive learning course where you just sit back and watch hours of videos and hope that you'll absorb it through osmosis and become a magnificent astrologer. This is where you actively engage with the material through not just the interactive components and live lessons, but also through things like our written homework assignments, astrology research assignments, where you'll get a deep dive into your own chart and the charts of other people so you can learn about yourself and others and understand how the astrology works in action. There's so much to this course. And so I definitely want to direct you to the link down in the description below so you can learn more, because this isn't all of it. There's also a 385-page student workbook that you can either download and print or purchase a hard copy of that goes along with the course. So you have have every way of learning and retaining and organizing the material. But just for this month only, so the month of June, you're going to get 20% off your tuition. You're going to get 3 bonus courses included with your enrollment. So you're going to get one on navigating difficult energy in the natal chart. You're going to get another about astrocartography and relocation astrology. It's by far my most popular course. And you're also going to get my electional astrology mini course where you can learn about how to plan for success using astrology. In addition to this, you're going to have your certificate of completion fee waived. Yes, we do offer the option to receive a certificate of completion. And you won't have to pay anything extra to, do the exam, get it graded and get all the feedback and get your actual certificate. And you also get lifetime access to our Beginners Astrology Bootcamp when you enroll this month. So again, the Cosmic Academy of Astrology, the link to enroll is down in the description below. I promise we're moving on back to the astrology of the new moon in Gemini now, but I do hope to see you in class and to welcome you there. If you have questions, email us at info@astrologywithheather.com, comment below, and we'll be happy to guide you in the right direction. We only want the right students who are going to achieve what they want to achieve and have their goals met and be successful in this course. And so if you want to know if it's a good fit for you, if you're not sure, be sure to reach out to us. We're always happy to help. You can also find me on Instagram @astrologywithheather and DM me and I'll answer your questions there. Okay, so back to the new moon in Gemini, which is a little bit difficult to navigate, you guys. It's an interesting one. So I love that this is going to be a kind of otherworldly, etheric, strange energy because I'm kind of into that. It's always good to take a step back from the kind of mundane, the tangible, the logical, and the real, and to kind of dive more into what's fantastical, to dive into the realm of imagination and possibility. And that's absolutely what this is going to bring because there's such a tight square with Neptune. However, anytime you have an energy that's going to bring about, fantasy and this disconnect from day-to-day reality, you're also bringing in an energy that makes us more gullible, more susceptible to manipulation because we're not seeing the reality of the situation clearly, and much more easily swayed, right? Because we're much more sensitive at this time. And so we're picking up on all sorts of different things. And so it can confuse our intuition. It can confuse our rational thought patterns. It can confuse the decisions we would normally make or the types of decisions that we would normally make and make us kind of go in a weird direction. That Neptune energy, especially with the new moon, right? The moon is all about our emotions, and Neptune is all about spirituality and other kinds of energies that we wouldn't normally tap into. And when we have the dark phase of the moon, it's already a much more psychic, much more intuitive, much more internalized period of time. And so that new moon energy is already present, and it's already calling us to step away from doing things externally and to focus more internally on our needs, wants, and desires moving forward, our inner work, our inner reality. But with Neptune in the mix, this is a great time to do some spiritual exploration. This is a great time to sleep really well and sleep a lot so you can have some really magnificent dreams or messages that come through your dreams. The messages and the insights and the intuitive hits that come through around the time of this new moon might not be clear at first. However, by the time we get into the full moon, which is actually going to be, I think, happening in Capricorn, correct? So the full moon in Capricorn on July 3rd, that's going to bring us clarity on what was seeded at the time of the new moon, which is happening again on June 17th. In the sign of Gemini. So it's kind of like things are unclear now. We're picking up on something. There are things that we kind of need to pay attention to beyond our normal perceptual recognition, but we're not really clear on what it means. We might be feeling things or getting impressions or downloads or sensations or having really wild dreams even, but we're not really sure how to take that and do something with it, or what we're even supposed to do with it, or if we're even supposed to do something with it. That clarity, that recognition, that ability for the meaning behind things will be illuminated at the time of the full moon in Capricorn, which again is happening on July 3rd. And we will do a full video, a full forecast on that in just 2 weeks. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, if you haven't already done that, so you don't miss that. I love when you guys subscribe. It helps me out a lot. And also, then you don't miss anything, because this is going to be an important energy as well. So Neptune is making this a time where we have to go inward, but we lack clarity. And even if we dwell on things, mull things over, kind of wrap our minds and our emotions around the situations that are at play in our lives at the time of this new moon, through this method of escape, right? It's kind of like we have to take ourselves out of something in order to kind of go inward and feel it out, but we're still not, again, going to be clear on things. This is also an energy where we can be deceived not just by other people, not just by, interrelational situations, but also we could be deceived by our intuition. We could be deceived by entities. We could be deceived by spirits. We could be deceived by things that we don't fully grasp and understand. And that could sway us again in the wrong direction. So while this is a new moon and it's a good time to set intentions, especially intentions around things that run a little bit deeper, it's not the best time to solidify those intentions with action. It's never a good time for that at the new moon. And it's definitely not a good time to make a clear, rational decision about something. If that's what you need right now, put it off if you can, at least past the weekend, at least like halfway through the waxing phase of the lunar cycle, which again happens from the 17th to the 3rd. You guys really always ask about dates, even though I mentioned them a little bit. I'm going to start mentioning them way more, like throughout the entire video, so you guys can know what dates are happening without looking them up. But yeah, so anyway, the other thing that's going on here too, that kind of mitigates this energy a little bit with the lack of clarity, is Pluto in conjunction with the new moon. In conjunctions are interesting. There's something we dive really deep into in the Cosmic Academy of Astrology, because I use them a lot, which is uncommon for most astrologers, because they can be the key to understanding not just the birth chart, but what's going on astrologically in transit. And so in this particular case, we have an in conjunction with Pluto. Pluto is now retrograde in the sign of Capricorn. And so it is a little bit more rational, logical, and precise in the sign of Capricorn. It's also very introspective and very obsessive, especially in an in conjunction. In conjunctions represent energies where we take things to extremes, too far, where we either overexpress the energy of the planet or we underexpress it. And in transit, it's the same thing. It's either the Pluto is going to be overexpressed, we're going to be obsessive, we're going to be very precise, we're going to be dwelling on things. We will be taking things to extremes because that's Pluto. We're going to be diving deep to get answers. We're going to be obsessed with figuring out the subtle nuances of other people's behavior, of what's going on in our reality, so we can pick it apart, so we can understand it fully, so we can kind of wield more power over the situation by understanding what the next move is going to be before it even happens. So it's kind of this energy that can be also used in a manipulative way. And so with the energy of Neptune, with the energy of Gemini, which is multifaceted, and when it's being expressed in a way that's challenging, just like it is right now, it can be deceitful, right? It's not always deceitful. Geminis, by and large, are not necessarily deceitful. I know that that's a meme that people like to throw around on TikTok and things like that, but not real astrology, guys. But when Gemini is off kilter, when there is a negative influence, especially a deceptive influence like Neptune in the mix, that can be the case where there are so many sides to the story that we don't know what the truth is. And we can be more easily manipulative, or we can be the manipulators. And so be careful not to fall on that end of the spectrum, especially if you have a lot of mutable energy in your birth chart already, because this is going to amplify that. I would say this is a really great weekend to just chill out and sit back and watch things happen as opposed to actually engaging. But if you need to engage, use that Plutonian discernment, figure out what the truth is before you jump in, before you do the thing, before you make the move. And just be aware that you're not seeing everything right now. You're just not. And it will become much more abundantly clear a couple of weeks from now what really was happening at this time. And so that is my general overview of the energy. I just want to mention in your personal chart, so make sure first and foremost you download my Astrology 101 PDF guide if you haven't already done that. Link is down below, 100% free. And look up which planets you have in the mutable signs. The mutable signs, for those who are not aware, are Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. If you have a lot of mutable energy in your chart, especially at the end degrees, you're going to be impacted by this, not just the most, but in a way that's going to be the most confusing, the most disorienting. It's going to feel like you're kind of disconnected or ungrounded around this time. And you might be picking up on these really psychic, really intense energies that you don't quite understand. So it just makes it even more confusing. If you have energy or a lot of planets in the signs of Libra and Aquarius, so the other two air signs, that's actually going to be a positive thing where it's mitigated in your chart. Yes, things are a little confusing, but for you, whatever you're diving into, whatever messages, whatever experiences, whatever spiritual connections you're making at this time, they're helping you in a very positive way, and it's going to be less murky for you, so you might be able to do something with it more effectively around the time of the new moon. Also, you want to see especially which houses in your chart are occupied by those mutable signs. The topics that are connected to those houses are going to be impacted in a way that's going to be very confusing and disorienting for you, very ungrounding. And again, the Libra Aquarius parts of your chart, so the houses that are occupied by Libra and Aquarius, are going to be helped by this new moon energy. And so that being said, let's get into the forecast for all 12 signs. Okay, and so for Aries and for Aries rising, this energy is happening in your third house, which is the house that is most commonly associated with communication. This isn't necessarily your communication. It could be, in most cases, it is your communication. It's your experience with communication, but it's your experience with day-to-day communication as you're going about your life and doing your day-to-day business. It's communication with people in your community, your immediate surroundings, your neighbors, your neighborhood. It's when you go to the store and you're at the checkout and you're chatting with the cashier or somebody else in line. It's the casual conversations that you have throughout your day-to-day reality. And in this particular circumstance, that energy can get quite murky and quite confusing. It's almost as if somebody tells you something or you hear some gossip when you're out and about or just kind of in your day-to-day experience. And especially gossip, I would say. It's like a secret is being told to you with this energy of Neptune in the 12th house. And that secret throws you off kilter, but it's not quite accurate. You don't actually know what's going on. You're not able to see or understand the full picture here. So if something like that comes up for you, just know that whatever the gossip is, ignore it, and definitely don't gossip around this new moon. That's going to get you in a lot of trouble because what you think is the reality is not the reality, and it probably will come back to bite you at some point, especially professionally or when it comes to your reputation. So you want to make sure that you're very clear in what you say, and you're clear on whether or not what you're saying is actually the truth of the matter before you speak out, before you add your 2 cents, and definitely don't spread gossip at this time. That's going to be a recipe for disaster for you. What I will say this is really good for is diving deep into learning about something very spiritual. You might not have full clarity on it yet, but if you're doing it for enhancing a specific career path path or career goal, this can help you to become much more successful, much more powerful in your position in some way. And so I do really like that. But again, you're not going to understand the concepts very clearly just yet. It's kind of like a thing that maybe you're initiating or diving into that becomes much more clear. This could also be a time where you want to initiate or start something involving a commute or maybe purchasing a new vehicle. I would say hold off on that for right now, just because things are not clear and the deal that you might be getting is probably not as good as you think it is. And so kind of letting that sit and waiting until a few days into the month, that will help you out quite a bit. This could also be gossip or confusing information involving siblings, extended family members, things like that. Again, just stay out of it. Do not, end up gossiping and things like that. That's going to come back to bite you. But what I would use this energy for is meditation, taking some sort of spiritual course, or doing something to educate yourself when it comes to things that are less material, less physical, more nebulous, and less and like more etheric and things like that. So things that, are less widely known, or that are not as like logical and linear as what you might normally kind of take on in that arena. So for, let's see here, for Taurus and for Taurus rising, this new moon is happening in your second house. You might be deceived about something financial. So make sure you check and double check all of the numbers. If you are crunching the numbers, if you're balancing your budget, if you are kind of looking over something in your financial situation, you're not going to necessarily see it clearly right away. And so you need to make sure that you are triple checking everything. And if you are wanting to make a major purchase, wait a few days after the new moon to actually allow that to take hold. Use the new moon energy to sit and reflect on it, to meditate on it, to allow images, downloads, inspiration, ideas, intuition to come to you about whatever it is that you want to change, initiate, or move forward with financially before you do it. So don't do it just yet, because again, that could be a recipe for confusion. There is an area of discernment here. If you're able to kind of take yourself outside of the situation, you can see how things could potentially be manipulated in your favor in a positive way, maybe not by manipulating other people, but manipulating the system, the numbers, whatever, in order to get what you want when it comes to your finances. So that's something that you could get very clear on around this time. So that's something that you could use this energy for. But just know that, yes, there's a new beginning coming your way financially, but no, it's not what you think it is. And if you act too quickly, it's going to be acting out of a place of misunderstanding. So especially if you listen to what your friends have to say about what it is that you're doing, that's going to throw you very off course. And then for Gemini and for Gemini rising. So for Geminis, this energy is happening in your sign. Because this is in your sign, especially if you're a Gemini rising, it might be you that's deceiving people, that's manipulating people in some way. Not necessarily intentionally though. It's almost as if you are misunderstanding something and then you're putting that information, or you're acting on that information out in the world, and that causes problems. So before you do anything of importance, especially over this weekend, make sure that you have all the facts. Make sure you have all of the figures so you don't accidentally lead other people astray or do something that's going to cause you a lot of problems in the future, especially when it comes to your career and public reputation. So it's almost as if, you want to speak out about something, or you want to put something out there. You want to do something that's more aligned with your needs, wants, your values, with your desires, with your trajectory, with your goals. This is a very self-focused new moon. It's about kind of reinventing yourself in a small way. But before you do that, you want to make sure that you fully understand not just what you're doing or what you're putting out there, but the repercussions of your actions, because there is an energy here of confusion and misunderstanding. This is where you will probably be feeling a little spacey or a little disconnected, especially over the weekend of June 17th. So this is a really great time for you to rest, Gemini. This is a good time for you to take care of your spiritual, mental, and physical health, where you can just rest, relax, take a breather. This is not a very active weekend for you. So make sure that you keep it chill and keep it low key. Focus on creative projects and pursuits, focus on deep diving and spiritual exploration and things like that. And you should get a lot out of this energy. But if you're trying to take decisive action out in the world, it's going to be born out of confusion. So you want to take a step back and wait a few days, and then you can take action, because the intuition, the energy, the insights that come to you, the impressions that you get around the time of the new moon will become much more clear as the month goes on. And for Cancer rising. So for Cancer, this energy is happening in your 12th house. And so for you, out of all the signs, this is a deeper spiritual dive. This is a time not to go out and do things out in the world. This is a time to rest and reflect. This is a time for you to spend time in solitude, seclusion, and isolation intentionally. And this is a really great time for philosophical evaluation or kind of learning or education that's more spiritual in nature. This is a really great time to take some sort of spiritual retreat, to do something really deeply creative where it really puts you in a different zone, where it disconnects you from the day-to-day reality of your life. This is a really great time to kind of go on a mental or emotional journey, but not to go on necessarily a physical one, because that's going to be ripe with a lot of confusion. And missteps and disorientation at this time. I would say that this is, if you're embarking on a journey, just make sure that you have all of the dates, times, all of the tickets, all of the confirmation codes, all of those things, because there could be a little bit of confusion, or you could get lost even in some way. But, if not, and if you can put it off for a couple of days until after the weekend, that would probably be better for you. And this is going to be a time where you really do have to kind of take a step backward and focus on your spiritual and emotional health in order to, create better physical health for yourself moving forward. This is not a good time to be super active or super engaged. This is a time where you have permission to disengage, where you have encouragement to actually disengage, because that's how you're going to get the most bang for your buck with this energy. It's about spiritual growth, not external growth. Okay. And then this new moon for you, Leo and Leo rising, is in your 11th house, which is the house of friends, social networks, and people you surround yourself with by choice. There's a confusing energy here where you could have friends or a group of people that are leading you astray, or maybe even intentionally manipulating you. Hopefully that's not the case, but you want to make sure that you're being very discerning. Use your intuition as a guide when it comes to social situations and anything that comes up in that arena around the time of this new moon, especially over the weekend of June 17th. And so this is a time where, yes, you're going to be, maybe plotting and scheming and seeding intentions for a fresh start or something new, involving friends, social networks, maybe creating some sort of organization or club, or, just maybe some sort of social gathering or event or something along those lines. But it's not the best time to actually act on or do that thing, because there's something here that's foggy or unclear. This is a really great time, though, to do a deep spiritual exploration, maybe with a group of people or with friends that you trust in that sort of realm. That can be very fruitful. You can kind of go really deep right now. This is a time where if you join forces with other people, you're going to be deeply psychic, and the impressions and the information that comes to you can be deeply healing, psychologically and physically. For Virgo and for Virgo rising. So for Virgos, this energy is happening in your 10th house, which is the house of career and public reputation. There's something here that you want to initiate involving what it is that you put out into the world for public consumption, the way the world views you, or the legacy that you leave behind after your working years, if not your actual career. And so this is something that will happen this month and that you need to kind of initiate and move forward with. However, there is a lack of clarity, and that's coming through your connections with other people, especially one-on-one connections in business, but also it could be coming through an important partnership, either romantic or otherwise, where somebody else's opinions or their energy is getting in the mix and throwing you off course when it comes to this thing that you want to start for yourself, when it comes to career, when it comes to your legacy, when it comes to your position in the world. And so you're going to need to utilize your intuition and other sensory abilities, messages, downloads, impressions, things like that, meditations, to kind of put yourself in a space where you're more receptive as opposed to active at the time of this new moon. That's going to help you get clarity, not just about how other people might be influencing you in the wrong direction, but also what you truly need, want, and desire when it comes to what you put out there in the world, when it comes to your success, your goals, your direction in your career. And so that's what's going to be happening here. Also, if you've already been very confused in that area, this is going to amplify that. However, that energy of sitting back and being passive as opposed to active is going to help you to shift things in the right direction moving forward and get more clarity as the month goes on. For Libra and for Libra rising, this energy is happening in your 9th house. So for Libras, lucky you, this is a little bit nicer than for some of the other signs, as I mentioned at the start of this video. This is a really great time to initiate or to set intentions for anything that has to do with higher education. So maybe you're joining in on the Cosmic Academy of Astrology, but you're confused about whether or not it's a good choice for you. That could be part of this too. But regardless, this is actually a better time for you than most people to engage in or to initiate something involving a educational pursuit, especially if that educational pursuit has a healing component or a spiritual component or a metaphysical component because of that Neptune energy. However, there's a confusion or a difficulty involving your day-to-day work or your day-to-day experience, or maybe even involving your health, that's causing you to second guess yourself or to become indecisive about what direction to take, or to confuse yourself and not really understand the information being presented to you if you're already engaged in some sort of educational pursuit or teaching pursuit where your words might come across as a little bit less clear than they normally are. You're going to have to think harder about it. You're going to have to put more effort into fact checking and double and triple checking what it is that you're doing before you share information at this time. But it is a really great time to seed intentions involving either higher education, involving a fresh perspective. This energy, if you use it introspectively, will give you a fresh perspective on your situation and your reality. And this is also a really great time to seed intentions for a big journey, a long distance trip, something involving connections with foreign countries or foreign entities or foreign people that are different from your culture. And so all of these things are wonderful. Just give it a couple of days before you launch right into it, because new moon energy is not the best time to actively engage with it. And make sure that you have your day-to-day stuff, your kind of day-to-day responsibilities and work and all of that kind of sorted out before you make the move, and you should be fine. For Scorpio and for Scorpio rising. So for Scorpio, this is happening in your 8th house, which is the house of joint finances, debt, other people's money, things of that nature. There could be a very confusing situation that comes up around the time of the new moon involving those themes. And so money right now is an area of it's not necessarily the best energy for investing in something. Definitely not a good time or a good month even to seed intentions or to start something involving a loan or taking out a loan or getting into debt. I would, think, double think, triple think over that before jumping in. This could also bring up some sort of confusing energy around joint finances in marriage, especially involving children or, post-divorce. That sometimes happens with these energies too, where there's power struggles and financial struggles that are coming up that are kind of nebulous or confusing. That could be a part of this energy too. But if you approach it intuitively and you think about it more introspectively as opposed to taking action on these things around the time of the new moon, you're going to get clarity later on this month. You're going to benefit way more from sitting back and being passive about your financial situation especially over the weekend, especially around June 17th, as opposed to being active and actively engaged in it. It could also be that there's a big expense that involves, or a big investment that involves your children that you're not clear on. Again, wait until you're perfectly clear to take action. And if you feel like you're clear at the time of the new moon, which again is this weekend, June 17th, pause on it still and reflect a little bit longer if you can, and if it's not going to kind of inhibit you in some sort of detrimental way. All right. And then Sagittarius and Sagittarius rising. This is an energy that could cause, so this is a fresh start for you when it comes to your relationships, especially your relationships with family members, but in general, all close one-on-one relationships, marriage partnerships, romantic partnerships. This is your new moon that resets you in that area. It happens every single year. This time around, though, there's something a little bit confusing that's muddling the waters. And so you're not very clear about what it is that you want to engage in together as a couple, or together as, your parents and your family together, like that type of thing, together in relationship with other people. It's kind of like you think that you're going in one direction, but really you're not. And you're not going to see that very clearly until after the 17th, until after the time of this new moon. However, this is a really great time to do something behind the scenes in partnership that's deeply spiritual, deeply interconnected. This is a really great time for rest, relaxation, to spend time at home, with your partner or with somebody you care about, or to just kind of do something that's more reflective. It's not a good time to be out in the open and doing something active in partnership. It's more about being passive and being reflective and putting yourself in that state, that more receptive kind of spiritual, intuitive state together as a unit. That's how you're going to get the most out of this energy. And that's where you're going to really get some really great insights and clarity as the month goes on. And then for Capricorn and Capricorn rising. So for Capricorn, this energy is happening in your 6th house, which is the house of health, work, and daily routines. This energy I actually really love for, initiating something or starting to seed intentions and reflect on something that you could maybe initiate involving improving your health. However, you don't have all the information yet. So there's a lack of clarity about how to move forward. There could also be some sort of weird behind the scenes dark moon miscommunication or deceit going on in the workplace with your coworkers, or especially if you're somebody in a management position or you're somebody who owns a business. There could be something going on behind the scenes that's manipulative, deceitful, or just very unclear and confusing involving your employees, involving the people that work for you. Even if you're not somebody who's an employer, specifically in your career, in your business, in your work, it still could be that there's somebody who's tricking you or manipulating you, involving specifically things that you hire out for. And so almost everybody pays somebody to do some sort of service for them at some time, right? That is that 6th house energy. So your mechanic, your plumber, the new contractor you just hired, whatever it is, you're not seeing something about their proposal very clearly, maybe, or, they're quoting you for something, but it's misleading and it's not exactly what it's going to be. So later on, it ends up being like 10 times more or something like that. So you want to make sure that you're triple and quadruple checking all the facts when it comes to those types of interactions. But I do like this as a healing energy. So if you spend this, healing yourself spiritually, emotionally, psychologically, taking a break, and don't get too busy in your day-to-day reality, because you're just going to confuse yourself and muddle the waters this weekend, especially. So don't add too many tasks to your plate over the weekend, especially around, June 17th. And this could actually prove to be a really healing energy if you approach it passively rather than actively. All right. And then for Aquarius and Aquarius rising. So for Aquarius, this new moon is happening in your 5th house, which is the house of joy. It's the house of fun. It's the house of children. It's the house of play. It's the house of romance. All the fun things happen in the 5th house. And so this is actually a much nicer new moon energy for Aquarius, just like I mentioned at the start of this video, as opposed to some of the other signs. And so I love this for diving deep into something that piques your curiosity, or initiating or planning or seeding to initiate something new that connects you with the hobbies and interests that you love to do, that connects you with your joy, that connects you to your romantic side, to your playful side in some way. This could be a really great time to initiate something new involving your children, or to seed those intentions for your children. This could be a really great time to, think about enrolling them in a new school, a new play group, a new daycare, whatever. However, there is some financial concern or financial considerations that are muddying the waters where you might think it's one way or it's one price and then it's not. You might overspend or, misconstrue something financially when it comes to your hobbies, your interests, the things that you love, the things that you want to engage in, the things that you want to go out and do because it's fun for you, or something you want to initiate with your children. So that's kind of the only area where there's a lack of clarity. So crunch the numbers, double and triple check all of the facts and figures financially. But beyond that, I think this is a great time to engage in something creative, something playful, something spiritual, something romantic, or to initiate something really beautiful, or seed intentions to initiate something really beautiful, for your children. Maybe enrolling them in some sort of creative or spiritual endeavor or class or group or something like that. Finally, for Pisces and for Pisces rising. So for Pisces, this new moon is happening in your 4th house, which is the house of home, family, property, real estate. It's your parents, it's your roots, it's what happens behind the scenes, behind closed doors. And so this new moon energy is a really great time for you to stay in, spend time at home, spend time with your family. There could be a confusing situation that comes up that's unclear, that you can't necessarily access or see clearly from a rational, logical perspective when it comes to your family dynamics or your relationship with your family, or something involving your parents. This could also, involve something literally involving your home or your property. This is not the time to take action on it. This is the time to sit back and to intuit the situation, to understand things from feeling it out, from gaining different perceptions and perspectives through the impressions that come to you. So be passive in your engagement with all things home and family. Don't necessarily push for something. And if there's confusion around your family dynamic, if there's confusion around the home front or some important contract with the home, or something like that, you're actually kind of the source of the confusion, but you don't realize it yet because that Neptune is in the 1st house, especially for Pisces rising. So it's almost like you're making it more complicated than you need to, or you're misunderstanding something, or you are misleading someone, probably and hopefully unintentionally, and that's what's muddying the waters. And so this is not the best time to actively do something about whatever's going on involving your home, family, property, parents, whatever. But this is a time to kind of mull it over and reflect, right? Again, passive is better at any new moon, but especially right now, because anything that you engage with in reality is going to be confusing. Something that can help you understand the situation is getting kind of a third party, like a friend or a group opinion about what's going on here. That can help you to be much more discerning and to understand things much more clearly because of that Pluto in conjunction in the 11th house, where you can use that energy or use that person's perspective to help you dive deep and understand the actual dynamics, especially the interpersonal dynamics of the situation, much better. So that's something that you can lean on as well. But overall, I would say just chill out, relax at home. Don't force anything this weekend, and you should be great and this should be great. So and whatever you want to initiate, whatever you want to move forward with involving your home, your property, your family, it'll come this month. It'll just become much more clear after the 17th and after this new moon. So don't jump in too fast if you can avoid it. And so that is what's going on for all 12 signs for the new moon in the sign of Gemini on June 17th. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already done so. Watch this forecast over here to get some more information about what's going on right now in the skies and how it's impacting you. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.